From Beans to Chocolate by June Schwartz. Here's the table of contents. Chocolate for a treat. Angie bites into the smooth, dark chocolate. It tastes very creamy and oh so sweet. The delicious chocolates are a special gift from her dad, and they are a great treat. But where does her dad get the chocolates? And up here we have follow the steps. How do we get chocolate? At the shop. Angie's dad goes to a chocolate shop. He thinks about Angie's favorites as he looks. Some chocolates are ready to scoop into bags, and some are already in fancy papers. There are many shapes and sizes, but he knows just what to buy. But how are the chocolates made into different shapes? So he's at the shop where he's going to get the chocolate. There are many kinds of chocolates in a chocolate shop. In molds. Warm melted chocolate is poured into molds of different shapes. When the chocolate cools, it hardens and keeps its shape. Workers pop the hard chocolates out of the molds. Then the chocolates are ready to pack in boxes. But where does the melted chocolate come from? So here's a picture of a mold. Here's another one. Chocolate comes in many shapes and sizes. So here's the molds that are at the shop to get the chocolate. From cocoa nibs. At a factory, hard little cocoa pieces called nibs go into a machine. Whir, whir. You can hear the machine grinding the nibs into a paste. But it's still not smooth enough, so the paste goes into another grinder until it's even smoother. So here are the nibs. Here's the grinder, the paste that it makes. Chocolate paste is bitter. It needs sugar to be sweet, so here's the sugar. But where do the nibs come from? So you have nibs that they put in the grinders to make the paste that goes into the molds that makes the chocolate that goes to the shop for you to buy. From cocoa beans. The cocoa beans have hard outer shells that hide the nibs inside. Workers heat the beans to remove the shells. The whole factory smells like chocolate cake or brownies when the cocoa beans roast. Yum! So here's the bean, and here's the shell of the bean, and inside are the nibs. Here's some beans that this man is using. The beans are heated in a roaster that turns them so they don't burn. So here's the roaster. So you have the beans for the nibs. The nibs go into the molds. The molds are at the shop where you buy your chocolate. From cocoa pods. The beans are inside cocoa pods. A worker splits open a ripe pod with a whack. Sweet, sticky goo and beans ooze out. The beans stay in the goo for a while until their flavor and color change. Then the beans go into the sun to dry before shipping. So you have the pod, there's the goo, and the beans that are in it. Over here it says heavy bags of dried beans are shipped to factories. So here's bags of beans. But where do the pods come from? So over here we have the pod with the beans that are inside that make the nibs that they put into the molds that go to the shop where you buy your chocolate. From cocoa trees. Cocoa pods are fruit that grows on cocoa trees. So you can tell your parents, yes, chocolate does grow on trees. Cocoa trees grow in hot, rainy places, and farmers pick the pods by hand. Cocoa farming is hard work. So here are some of the pods that they pick, and over here is a picture of a man picking one of the pods. It takes a lot of pods to make one chocolate bar. But why do people grow cocoa trees? So over here we have the tree, which is where you get the pod, which has the beans, which have the little nibs in them that you put into the molds at the shop where you buy your chocolate. To make life sweeter. Almost everyone loves chocolate, that's for sure. We don't need it to live, but life is a little bit sweeter when we have chocolate to eat. More about chocolate. Cocoa trees grow best in shade under the taller trees in a rainforest. Growing them this way makes it harder for farmers because they have to work around all the taller trees. But it's better for the cocoa trees. Healthy cocoa trees grow lots of cocoa beans.